Keep it alive through these lines I write. I keep it live cause I thrive. I might just blow your mind tonight. I'm so hyped, but it's no hype. From this height, it's direct hits on sight. I'm your type, lend me your ears to show you that there's something in me. I'm not giving up, I'm standing right here, holding these days hostage. And I'll make this my year. We turning fear into love, and the love's in the air. I love doing this cause nothing compares. Nothing can share that same type of feeling when you feeling them flares. They can't catch it, it's havoc. I rip to a tear, switch a scenario. My stereos, I leave them impaired. Variables start to change and they're all in my range. I just gotta grab it, it's all mathematics. Every step is drastic, I make it fantastic. I'm trying to take your breath away. Asthmatic.
This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow, blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo, stereo. This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow, blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo, stereo.
Yeah, just nod your head with it. So explicit and vivid. Every image is intricate, intimate. I put my all into it. No scrimmage and no rules. I'm a pro tool. Hear my heartbeat, beat into the vocals. I'm so loco, lost my mind, oh no. It's ponderoso, dope, so no overdose, cause it's dope, yo. Man, this is house grown, mixed with some milestones. So I let the style flow down like the Dow Jones. Bringing it with some foul tones, letting the crowd know we getting loud, so it's eardrum rudiments. Yeah, we bring it rude again. Move, little hooligan. Music for tuning in, full time to the 10. I'm on my clock like I told you. I'm doing this for dreams we pursuing.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Anti-Media Radio Show, once again with your host Nick Bernabe here on ucy.tv and the antimedia.org/radio. Happy to be back alive and well, survived 2017. We're doing our first show tonight of 2018, it's January 3rd. And we're going to be talking about a few things tonight. Couple new developments I want to go over with you guys as far as this stuff going on in California. We'll start off with a little bit of that stuff, and then we'll go on to North Korea and the whole Trump debacle. I mean, it's really turning into a shit show at this point. I thought it was bad before, but it's just getting worse, and it's like ridiculous at this point, to the point where well, we'll get to that when we get to it. Anyway, joining me tonight is our awesome journalist, Jake Anderson. What's up, Jake?
Hey, man. Yeah, it's a real shit show out there, that's for sure.
It's crazy as hell, dude. I never thought I'd see the day where shit like this was going on. It's nuts. It really is. We're also going to be joined by, I think DB's going to be joining us in a little bit. I don't know if he's like snowed in or whatever up there. Man, the East Coast is getting hammered by this cold weather, dude. I would hate to be out there right now. And there's this, what are they calling it? It's like almost like a winter cyclone that's coming in off the East Coast right now, which sounds really nasty because a hurricane sounds bad enough, but a hurricane blowing snow kind of sounds a lot worse. So,
Florida was getting hit. Florida is colder than Alaska right now, I think.
They were expecting snow in northern parts of Florida, dude, which is almost, very rare. So this is a really big storm. Apparently it's sitting off the East Coast, and it's affecting the whole entire, eastern seaboard over there. So, I read that 11 people already died from cold-related illnesses, and we're talking about homeless people that are sleeping outside, and probably elderly people who I don't know how they figure out exactly who's killed by the cold or whatever, but 11 people reportedly killed because of this weather already. So, got to be careful. Make sure you guys stock up on supplies, and we this last few months, we've been seeing some really extreme weather. So this stuff should be taken seriously. I mean, you remember when we back before that hurricane, what was it? Hurricane Harvey, I think, the one that hit Houston. Can't remember the name of it, but we're talking about that, and it looked, a lot of the researchers were saying, look, this thing could be really bad, and it turns out it was. So we should be always prepared for that kind of stuff, and if not, then get ready for it, because you don't want to be stuck with, freezing weather with no power and no food. That's not what you want to be stuck with. And I can't even imagine. I was reading today that Massachusetts may have like negative 15-degree weather, negative 20. And I can't even imagine, dude. It's like 60 degrees out here in San Diego, and we're like cold, and we're complaining about it. It's like, no. I seriously can't even imagine it. Don't get me wrong. I've been to some cold weather. I've been, snowboarding and stuff. But that was like by choice. I chose to go up to the mountains to go snowboarding. I wasn't trapped in it and, just completely subjected to it, whether you like it or not. Can't drive. Who knows if the power goes out. I can't even imagine for prolonged periods of time getting stuck in that. It sounds like a really bad situation. But, of course, you could always be a little more prepared for it. And I think we're getting joined now by DB. What's up, dude? DB, you there? Can't hear him for some reason.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, cool. Hey, so we were just talking about that huge storm that's hitting off the East Coast right now. And I know, you live up in Minnesota, and I'm sure you've dealt with some really freezing cold weather up there. What would you tell anybody out there that may or may not be in the path of this big storm coming to prepare for this, blizzard-like conditions?
I guess the main thing is just food and water, and then if you have a way to keep your place warm, if one, either gas or electric go out, or a combination of those two, even if that means you just have enough like actual warm clothes and wool blankets and stuff to bundle up and things to seal the windows and the doors and such like that. But I mean, that's the one advantage to living up here, is they're super ultra prepared for like years on end. Like when the city did the audit up here, we had like 2.5 years of gas stored, and we had like 3 years of water. And that's just because they know from past experience that like a crappy season can make it tough to restock even for the next year. So they're just ready for it. But that's a priority, and that's why taxes are high here. And I don't know about the East Coast. They have a lot of other things to worry about with a crumbling infrastructure that's like 100 years older than ours. So it's tough, man. And it's hitting D.C. One of my friends lives in D.C., and he said it's starting to shut D.C. down. So, I mean, and then with all these airport problems going out, it's bad news for people trying to travel.
Yeah, I got a friend that got caught and stuck down in Cancun or something like that. He was supposed to be coming back, I think, up to...
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's like, poor guy, man. You're stuck down where it's like 80 degrees when it's like negative 10 right now. Where he lives.
Yeah, and his work's not going to like can him for that, so...
Yeah. So, yeah, that's going on, and I just wanted to get Jake's thoughts on something real quick on this topic. I guess we're going to be talking about some completely ridiculous shit Trump's been saying recently. And the first one
Ultimate distractions.
Yeah, exactly. The first one's related to this topic. But this is something that I actually see pretty often, where it's like, oh, it's cold in one place, therefore, climate change is a hoax or whatever. And, Trump was talking about something about this cold weather, and he's like, well, what we could use right now is a little bit of global warming or whatever. And, of course, it was Trump, and, of course, it's probably just something stupid he was saying. But at the same time, I just found it, it's actually something that a lot of people tend to say, and a lot of people tend to think. It's like an isolated or a, anomalous event proves that climate change isn't real, which is, of course, anecdotal as hell. But Jake, did you see that? I mean, I just thought that was just another...
Yeah, no, he's talking about global warming as though it's like a temperature. He's confusing temperature and climate, basically.
Yeah, and he was like praising global warming. I mean, it was like he came out in favor of global warming. It was just ridiculous, dude. I mean, ridiculous stuff.
Like the fact that it's getting cold somewhere means that global warming doesn't exist.
Yeah, exactly. So we're gonna go counterclockwise here. So we talked about the East Coast, the Northeast, and of course, the South is going to be a little more impacted by this. It's actually supposedly going to hit really hard in South Carolina with this storm because the South is less prepared. Like DB was saying, dude, up north where you get really deep snow and permanent snow on the ground, you're more prepared for this stuff. In the South, where it basically rarely snows, you know, you remember a few years ago when it kind of like shut down Atlanta and people that got trapped in their cars on the freeways and stuff. You guys remember that? You know, so the South is much less prepared, and so this storm may, like we were saying, it's dropping snow in Florida. So this is. I think I'm more worried about what's going on down south where people aren't really prepared for this stuff. So, but moving counterclockwise.
The climate is changing, dude, because we had an amazing, just unbelievably beautiful summer up here, and it was so temperate, and then now we've had like a short and brutal winter, and it feels like it's going to break within a month and then already start warming up again. So I think the extremes are going to shift, and you're going to notice them more by the equator, and then obviously by the tropics. You're going to really notice that these huge swells of cold that come down that, you know, honestly, we're just brushing it off. Like it's -2 right now, but we have the furnace on. I don't even notice it. I mean, you just bundle up when you go out. And the only time it sucks is if it's snowing so hard that you can't see. Then you just kind of get stuck. But I mean, everybody accepts that's just a way of life. But yeah, when it hits you down there and you have no support infrastructure, there's literally nothing you can do. What are you going to do? Or what are we going to ship like tons of salt and a bunch of plows down there overnight? Like, there's just nothing you can do.
Yeah, dude, seriously. So moving counterclockwise, Jake, I heard that there was like a gas pumping apocalypse up there. I just want to make sure you're safe, and all you guys up in Oregon aren't like dying in the streets because you can't pump gas.
Yeah, what happened is I ended up drinking a bunch of gasoline because I sprayed it. I was sprayed it in my own mouth accidentally. No, you know what? It's. I guess. Yeah, I had heard that they passed passed a law saying that they don't have to pump it automatically for you because, you know, I've only been here 2 years, and when I got here, I was kind of really not used to the Oregonian law of you can't pump your own gasoline, and I just didn't like it. I'd pull up to a gas station, and I'm used to just doing it myself, and all of a sudden you have to have this awkward social encounter. So I didn't like it at all. I guess people that have grown up here, I guess that's what's happening is people that have grown up here are not used to pumping their own gasoline. I don't know what to tell those people, quite frankly. I can't even believe that's a news story.
Yeah, it's funny because it's just one of those things where, for whatever reason, Oregon decided that that people weren't responsible enough to pump their own gas, or whatever it is. I don't really understand the reasoning behind it, but for how long they did it, it's like the government was saying, no, you guys can't pump your own gas, so we have to have someone that is an expert in pumping gas pump gas for you.
Well, maybe could easily be wrong on this, but isn't it just simply a job creation tool? I mean, isn't just a way to guarantee a certain number of jobs? Surely it can't. Surely it's not the state government saying our citizens aren't responsible enough to pump gas.
They can't be trusted with their own safety of pumping gas, right?
That would be a shocking revelation. But
I mean, is it just to create jobs? I guess.
I honestly don't know. I'm sure we could Google this in 10 seconds and find out, but
it's probably a combination of both.
I'll look it up. I don't know. I asked people, why does this law exist, and no one could ever tell me.
Yeah, that's probably why they repealed it, right? So it's like, okay.
This is so dumb. We need to repeal this. This is just dumb.
Yeah, dude. So I just thought that was funny. People are like freaking out. I guess it was probably more trolls than anything, but people are like freaking out because they don't know how to pump their own gas and stuff up there. And so I'm glad you're not. I'm glad this hasn't negatively impacted you too bad.
No, I'm hanging in there, man.
Now, moving on to California. Now, this is good news, and it's also kind of just ridiculous, right? So, California legalized recreational marijuana over New Year. So, when we woke up on New Year Day, well, you were able to recreationally smoke marijuana, and it's okay now. It's not bad anymore. I think it's a great thing. On one hand, because, now it's less and less criminalized. In order to go to jail for weed now, you have to be carrying like pretty substantial amount. I'm guessing it's an ounce, or maybe it's more. I'm not sure. But you basically won't go to jail for weed anymore. It's recreationally legal. You can go buy it. There's a handful of stores where you can buy it in. And hopefully it'll help keep people out of the jails, and hopefully people that are in jail for marijuana crimes can get let out. But the thing that bugs me here is just how the government can basically arbitrarily say, okay, well, one day, on December 31st, 2017, marijuana is bad. You can go to jail for marijuana. Marijuana is illegal. And on January 1st, 2018, they say marijuana is not bad. Marijuana is, not evil. You can smoke marijuana. You can use marijuana now. So I was just thinking about that, and I'm just like, what in the world happened there? Like, how can a government just arbitrarily say, it's not bad anymore? We had it. It was bad for all those, all those years we were throwing people in jail for it, and then tomorrow it's not bad anymore. And I was just thinking about how ridiculous it is that the government just can do that kind of stuff. It's just like, oh yeah, we changed our mind, guys. It's not bad anymore. And of course, the big caveat here is now the government's going to be imposing a big tax on marijuana. So I guess the point I'm trying to get to here is that I don't really see the government having a moral opposition to marijuana. It's just a legal opposition, right? It's like, well, it's illegal.
It's a corporate opposition.
Yeah. I mean,
that's what it is.
Yeah, definitely that too. But I mean, like, from the government standpoint, it's like, well, it's illegal, so it's illegal.
The biggest lobby against legal marijuana is private prisons and alcohol. You can look it up, dude. They give the most money to the politicians that promise to keep marijuana illegal, which is what's going on up here because we have huge prison complex, and they sell a ton of beer because there's a ton of people watching sports, and they're afraid people are going to drink less beer. And these idiots need to do some actual market research and see they'd sell more beer. So if anything, maybe the cops will have to go after actual criminals and fill up the jails with psychos.
It should immediately release everyone who's in prison for a marijuana infraction.
That goes without saying. And not only that, but
it does go without saying, but they
every
won't.
case they've had, if they were roughed up by cops and suffered abuse for anything like resisting arrest or bullshit like that, they should be able to civilly sue.
Yep, I totally agree.
And you know what? I'm smoking weed right now, and I'm poisoning everybody's mind. Whoever's listening, I'm poisoning you guys with the.
That's horrible, Nick.
Devil's lettuce is infecting your brain right now.
That is horrible, and I'm drinking beer.
Yeah, you better not be. So, anyways, here's the thing, dude. California is legalizing marijuana, but on the other hand, California is regulating marijuana, and if you ask me and if you ask many people around here, they'll tell you California is over-regulating marijuana. And this is the problem. It's like this, they finally take a good step, and it's like, all right, guys, we're going to let you guys smoke weed again. But then they want to get all Hillary Clinton about it and go neoliberal and say, okay, but we're going to tax it 25%, and we're going to control it. I'm not even kidding you. They're imposing dress codes on the dispensary owners for recreational marijuana. They're forbidding scantily clad clothed women from working there. You have to cover a certain amount of your body and blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's just, they went and they over-regulated the shit out of it. And they're charging a bunch of taxes, and they're granting out just a handful of basically pre-selected companies to allow them to have somewhat of a monopoly on the legal, sale of it. So they're limiting the amount of stores. They're pre-selecting the people who already had medical licenses. Like, they're doing a good thing, and they're taking one step forward and two steps back, basically. And now there's they pull out all this other shit about getting a DUI, and if anybody in your car is smoking, everybody in your car gets a ticket, and all this other, like, they did a good thing by legalizing marijuana, and they did a bad thing by just finding a bunch of little loopholes that further criminalize it. It's like, what in the world is going on? And of course, they're all infraction-based things. They're not things you're going to get arrested and jailed for. They're just going to ticket you and just make some quick cash.
Yeah, because I've been seeing videos, Nick, of people that are just smoking joints up in Newport, and they're on the beach, and cops will give them a ticket, and they're like, who the fuck cares? Because, what's this, $150 to me? I'll fucking wipe my butt with it. So what it's really doing is it's making it into this amazing place to be if $150 infraction's nothing to you. That's what it's doing. It's super criminalizing the poor.
Yeah, dude, exactly. Once again, regressive criminalization, and it's just, again, it's not, you get caught doing something like that, unless you get a DUI, it's probably not going to be something you'll be arrested for, but you're going to have to pay a fine. And this is the problem, dude. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but regulation, in theory, the government comes in and finds a problematic industry and says, oh, you guys are harming the consumer. We gotta pass regulations, or you guys are harming the environment, or you guys are harming the market, or whatever. And they issue regulations in order to, in theory, they're supposed to protect, the public interest or whatever, right? So they're going through and they're regulating marijuana, and I'm sitting here trying to find the public interest in regulating marijuana. I can't find it, really. Marijuana's never killed anybody. Marijuana rarely makes anybody sick. Why are these guys wanting to regulate the shit out of marijuana?
Remember the test they did in the 20s too, where they made like a chimpanzee wear a mask, and they pumped like 80% THC pot into his mask for like 58 minutes, and then he did die. But they're like, well, yeah, because his brain went into like an overdrive of like too much stuff, like, and it killed him. But
that's so sadistic.
He didn't die. Straight to heaven. He didn't die.
Yeah. Well, he couldn't breathe, dude. I mean, come on.
That's messed up.
Well, that was part of the basis of why they made it illegal. They're like, well, can you imagine decreased lung function?
Let's make it illegal because we tortured this monkey to death.
Yeah, let's make it illegal because we did some really fucked up experiment on this monkey, and anybody would have died from it. So yeah, I mean, what do you guys think, dude? This has been a problem. I see it literally in every state campaign to legalize marijuana.
Our law changed up here.
They do it with like these neoliberal talking points of taxation and regulation and then repurposing the money for like supposedly in the public interest, but really what it is just taking a cut of an industry. And so what that tells me is that they don't give two shits about the morality of marijuana. These assholes have probably known that they've been immorally prohibiting marijuana for a long ass time. All they care about is the dollar signs. The government just cares about getting its cut and being able to help control it. And that's what these nanny states always be wanting to do. I don't know if you guys have been seeing, the way that they work with the drug cartels and shit, and the way that governments deal with them is instead of, letting it just happen, they want to control it, and that's why they keep it illegal or criminalized. The government doesn't want to see it just run wild. They want it controlled. And they don't want to see a unfettered marijuana ecosystem down here, even though that's already what we have. And so when they put all these regulations, I'll tell you what's going to happen right now. I'll just tell you. All this shit is just going to keep the black market in operation. And sure, people are going to be, tourists can come to California and they can go to the weed store and they can go pay $60 for an eighth or whatever they're going to end up paying because of all the taxes and all the red tape these dudes had to jump through to sell it to you. That's fine. That's cool. We can have some cannabis tourism. But I bet you a lot of the people who already buy weed for a good price from people in the black market, I doubt you're gonna see them going to the weed store and paying extra money to get the same type of product. I really doubt it. You'll probably see some people, and then of course, when people aren't in an area that's familiar with them, or that they're familiar to. But these regulations are going to help encourage the black market, and so I really don't know. The only positive thing to come out of this is just less, decriminalization. More decriminalization. Because a lot of the other stuff that they're doing, it just cancels out any of the good stuff. But in fact, the black markets were found to be even stronger after legalization. And I think what it does is it, how would you say this? It kind of encourages people that were kind of like, well, I got a homie that wants to open a dispensary and they've been too scared to help anybody do that kind of stuff. But now that it's like, oh, it's legal now, people start being more likely to get in business situations. And of course, Colorado's seen a huge economic boom thanks to the weed industry. Like, huge. A lot of jobs and a lot of money.
Their school system was saved, Nick. I was talking to my friend. They're trying to copy what Colorado's done in the Bay Area with this legalization, and they're trying to get a law passed where the tax is going to go right to the school system because that's what happens in Colorado. And Colorado is getting like 30 to 35 million a year. And that's so much money. Know what their budget is, but that's a huge amount.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, and so, hopefully they actually do something good with that money, and hopefully there's some weed that pays for all that. But yeah, I guess it's another step in the process, and despite there being, it's not perfect or anything like that. It's net positive, barely. So
they need to force all the money to be used to something good, though. Like that's key. It can't just go to Governor Dipshit and he use it for whatever he wants. Like, it needs to go to fix things that are defunded and underfunded.
No, we got Governor Moonbeam out here. Why do they call that fool Moonbeam anyway? I don't even get it.
Because he puts all the money into environmental quackery that ends up hurting the environment. Like, not clearing out brush helped the wildfires get even crazier. He's an idiot, dude.
Is that why they really call him Moonbeam?
Yeah, because he screws up the environment by being too much of an environmentalist. By saying, "Oh, I don't want you to destroy any of the habitat for like 2 or 3 endangered animals. You can't clear out brush." Okay. Well, what are we going to do when there's a drought, dude? Well,
you learn something new every day. Governor Moonbeam. Yeah,
Dude,
I mean,
he's destroyed the Sacramento Basin.
yeah, I don't
Just to
trust
save
that
like
guy.
one fish.
I don't trust that guy with our marijuana tax money.
He's a dictator, dude. Look at all this crazy shit he just passed. Do people even know what the hell just passed? I mean, I've been researching it. It's half of the stuff looks like some just fucking baboonery.
I don't know. I haven't seen that much. I know a bunch of laws got passed into law this New Year, so be good to check into all that stuff and see what what they got up their sleeves right now. I guess we're gonna be referencing some of these Trump tweets. Another funny one where Trump was bragging about signing more laws than any other president, which on one hand is a horrible thing to brag about. Signing more and more laws, to me, is like, who the fuck wants that? Who wants more laws? Like, seriously. And then, of course, he was lying about it. So, bunch of new laws, dude. There's like hundreds of them for California. And, I guess it's what bugs me recently, what's been bugging me is this nanny state stuff, where they want to just like the Oregon thing. Like, that's not new, but where they don't want to let you pump your own gas, and they don't want to. I mean, what's next? You can't turn on your own fucking stove at home. You can't cook your own food. I mean, how far do these guys go? In California, they want to dictate the dress code for private company. I mean, it's this nanny state shit, dude. That's like taking over now, where everybody wants to protect you protect you from yourself, protect you for your own good. And it's hard to take that seriously when the government is like so, like, they're so bad at everything that when they tell you, oh yeah, we're gonna like not let you pump your own gas for your own good, or like for instance here, you can't have balloons in the fucking park anymore. Which we found out the hard way at one of my family members' birthdays for like their 2-year-old, turning 2. The birthday balloons are like, oh, sorry, you guys can't have balloons in this park. It's against our regulations and blah 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 blah. Like, how far does it go? Like, where do we finally say, you know what, that's enough? You guys are telling us how to wipe our own asses at this point. This nanny state thing is creeping, and I don't think enough people worry about it because it's stuff that only affects people on the margins, right? And it's like,
well, isn't the
look,
isn't the homeless like population exploding? Like, how many people have to be homeless, and how much in your face do you have to see that when the government's too encroaching, like it is in California, where they have too much power, they ruin the economy for the middle class every time, dude. You have to have as small as government as you can possibly get, and still have a government that can protect people on the margins, not keep them down and increase the population, dude. I was reading that 65,000 people in LA are homeless. That's insane.
Dude, yeah, and I think we have like 10,000 in San Diego.
Those are like cities inside of the city.
Yeah, it's like a town, dude. Look,
and they're working too, I heard. A lot of them are working.
Yeah, a lot of them are. Look, before you left San Diego, I'm sure you remember that there was a small area in downtown over by like Island and like 16th and 17th over there. There was
I heard it's grown.
There was like, when you were here, it was like maybe, and I'm talking square blocks here, it was probably like 3 or 4 square blocks. And now, last time I went down there, it was up to like 10 square blocks, dude. Like, it's gotten really big. And there's a bunch of homeless people down there. And then, of course, you heard about the all those guys dying from hepatitis, all the homeless dudes in San Diego. I think there was like over 10 that died. Yeah, dude, I mean, it's grown so huge, and everything is so damn expensive out here, and they make everything so bureaucratic, dude. And everything's expensive. They just raised the taxes on the on the car registration. They raised the gas taxes. The poor people get a little bit more poor, and the rich people stay the same, is what's going on. And
they're doing better.
Tax. And, dude, good luck buying cigarettes and that kind of shit around here, dude. I mean, a pack is like almost $10 now.
There's people I know out there that they're fortunate enough to have that rental house somehow in San Diego. They have 2 houses and they have a rental house. And they're charging like $4,000 a month, dude, for a 4-bedroom. Like, they don't even have to work because they own 1 rental house.
Yeah, dude, it's ridiculous, dude. It's unbelievable.
Is that true? What that's what it is now? It's $4,000 a month for a 4-bedroom in like Del Mar.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, for sure. If it's up there, it'd be worth a lot of money.
That's ridiculous. So it's $1,000 to have a 1-bedroom. Like, share it.
Yeah, dude. And that's why you're right, dude. That's why there's so many homeless people, man. A lot of these guys work. A lot of these guys. I don't want to mix up any statistics here. Last time I checked, 40% of the homeless in San Diego were U.S. military veterans. And so you're talking about guys who are at the least they're dealing with is PTSD. Many of them are like schizophrenic, or have some kind of major health issue that may or may not have been, created by being a veteran or whatever, being in a war, Vietnam, many of them. And then I forget the percentage of how many people work, but it's really high. I think it's above 25. It's above 30% of the homeless people actually have jobs, and they have jobs, but because things are so expensive, they can't afford to be off the streets. And then a lot of guys, a lot of homeless people are like perpetually homeless. I mean, these are people. Some of them are people who just will not live in housing, even if it's given to them. And these people need help too because they don't fit in with the kind of, what do you want to call it, the American way of life, because it's a rent extracting existence here in the U.S. Everywhere you live, you got to pay rent, you got to pay bills, you got to pay
And even if you own a home, your taxes increase every year unless you're just lucky.
Yeah, and if you don't got a good job and you don't got a support system, you don't got family where you can share resources and share, living quarters and that kind of thing, well, the next option is to be homeless. And so that's what a lot of people are in that situation as well. They're not, they're just not capable. They're not able to afford.
Nick, we've got to get a coin. We've got to get a coin going with. There's a lot of lots that are off highways here that if we had enough people that invested even $5,000 in a coin, we could get RV lots put up. I know it sucks to think about it like that, but I think some people are going to be looking at buying an RV and they can afford $150 a month for that slot. They'll still get heat and power and everything, and RV is not the worst life in the world. Honestly, it's not. So.
Yeah, well, you bring up an interesting thought here. Is why aren't there private property owners that aren't just opening up their properties to allow homeless people to camp out?
There are. Actually.
We can't here.
I heard something. There's regulations you have to get by.
Yeah, we're not allowed to here in the city limits.
I know in Los Angeles there were people that were renting out RVs and like cots in like their backyard.
Damn, dude.
We can't rent out, like, I couldn't, we couldn't pave our backyard and allow someone to come in with an RV, like, that would never fly with everything, so, but I mean, there's like a 50-acre lot here for $60,000. Are there not 50 people out there that want to put in $1,200, and then we can build the infrastructure up for people to have RVs, and it would create like $30,000 a month in income. I promise I can get 200 spots on 50 acres.
Yeah, dude, and even just empty space that's not being used. I mean, the problem I think that the homeless people run into, and I guess this is I don't know how to take this. To me, it seems really, really bad. But the fact that these guys are being cited and eventually ticketed and arrested simply for existing on public property. Like, a lot of these guys are sleeping just on the sidewalks up in downtown San Diego, and they get tickets because it's illegal to camp on the sidewalk. So just for these guys existing in public space, they're becoming incriminated, and they're going into massive debt. They owe all these tickets, and they're
screwing people over on the margins so much. They're criminalizing you for struggling, and they're not providing any help at all. And they're increasing the military budget for this war that's looking like it's gonna go hot any minute, and that's gonna be a absolutely ridiculous war. It'll be short but absolutely horrible, and maybe that's the whole thing, Nick, is they don't give a shit because they're going to rebuild it all after this thing they're pushing it so hard for. I mean, that's the only thing I can think.
Yeah, dude, I don't know, man. But yeah, I mean,
are you talking about Iran?
Nah, but we're probably going to.
What war are you talking about, DB?
Well, no, not Iran, because Iran's actually think the stars they have an organic situation going where people are just tired of the CIA coup that installed Khomeini. Now they want to have a secular and democratic society where you're free to be Muslim, you're free to be Christian. There are Iranian Jews. They're welcome of everybody. They've always been that way. They're the Persian Empire. They were not Iran, okay? So they want to go back to the Persian Empire, Persia, and retake their culture and not let it get destroyed by this horrible... They are a theocracy. That is radical Islam, if you really want to see what it is. It's when they control every facet of your life. And the women spearheaded the change and threw off the burqas and said, fuck this. We're going to make a change, dude. We're not going to live under your shit anymore. Like, it's not saying that you can't. If you want to keep wearing it, go for it. But they're not going to allow them to force it anymore. Like, they want to... It's not a westernization. They're taking back their original culture. Their original culture was one that was, like, on the forefront of society for the whole world.
Yeah, dude. And of course, there's... No government is going to be perfect or even good, really. Most governments aren't going to be overall good, you know what I'm saying? Now, here's the thing, of course. A lot of people are saying that, this is just U.S.-backed, insurrectionism or whatever going on in Iran. I want to definitely stay objective on this because... it definitely seems to have, what looks like an organic feel to it. But what I would... Here's the thing.
It wouldn't behoove the so-called deep state to remove Khomeini. He's kept the peace and with an iron fist. It's the people are tired of that shit, dude.
Yeah.
This is going to actually ruin global trade because... If the people take over and shut down the strait and cut oil production 20%, our gas will go up by like $1.50, $2 a gallon until the Iranian government's like stable again. So trust me, the powers that be do not want this.
Yeah, and look, the people there are going to have to accomplish whatever they're going to accomplish on their own. And honestly, I see, again, Trump tweeting about it, and I'm just like, dude, shut up. Because every time you talk about it, you lessen its ability to exact change. Because if this thing gets perceived as some type of Western-backed thing where Trump's cheering it on and that kind of stuff, it delegitimizes it. So, here's the thing. We can't let, and of course this is the direction I guarantee these assholes are going to go, especially what's her name, Nikki Haley at the UN. They've already been trying to start up shit with Iran for months, right? So, of course, the thing we have to be wary of is these guys trying to get this to be a pretext for U.S. involvement in Iran. I don't think that they would actually do it, but you can't put anything out of the question at this point. So we can't allow this to be the type of thing where it's like Libya and it's like, oh, you know, Gaddafi is like killing his own people, we must do something about it. And then everyone in the world's like, yeah, we must do something. And they just go overthrow Gaddafi and kill him. And then, you know, Libya turns into a much, much worse situation. We can't let them do that. Again, I mean, I really don't think the American people are buying this anti-Iranian stuff. I guess a lot of Republicans probably believe it, but generally speaking, I don't see anybody like worried about Iran. I don't really see anyone taking that stuff that seriously. I think people are more concerned about North Korea and all that, of course. But the way that they're already framing up the rhetoric for this, what's going on in Iran, is like framing it up for U.S. involvement. And look, the only way we can actually help the Iranian people is letting them do what they're going to do. If we get involved in it, we're going to mess it up. If it's time for a revolution in a country like Iran, it has to happen from the inside, not from the out. You know, if these guys are ready to overthrow the theocracy, we have to get out of the way and we have to let them do it. But if we go in and say, well, we have to help them overthrow the theocracy with drone strikes and with this and with, you know, shelling and bombing and advisors on the ground and all that stuff, that is how you start a big-ass bloodbath, you know, a war, a huge... And what would most likely in Iran, that would be a huge proxy war between the U.S. and Russia. It would be ugly as hell. So we have to resist any urge, any rhetoric or propaganda about that, because it's obviously some of the, you know, they're going to be saying this stuff to see what sticks and what doesn't. So far, nothing has really stuck to Iran. I mean, you know, Nikki Haley's out at the UN talking to herself, basically. Nobody's, like, really believing it, I don't think. And the U.S. has kind of lost a lot of credibility on the international stage, so...
I mean, I don't know where any of these people think the next generation of the greatest generation is going to come from that's going to be able to go in and be infantry in any kind of war. I mean, I've traveled pretty extensively, and I've not gone anywhere where I thought there was like this hardcore population ready to like kick everyone's ass. So, I mean, yeah, we're out of shape in America, but in all honesty, it's not a whole hell of a lot worse than a lot of other places. So, I don't see anybody ready wanting to fight. I mean, we have needs. If anything, the country right now that's exploding beyond its resource base is China. That's going to have to be fed through the economy. The economy is going to have to run through China again. It's just what it is. There's probably closer to 2 billion people in China than 1 billion, you know, so they need a lot of stuff. They're a huge base for people that are going to buy stuff. And
China is blowing up right now.
Well, they're the new middle class for the world. Like, they have 300 million people right now in China that own homes and have 2 cars. That's the entire population of the U.S. So the middle class in China wants to buy stuff. So if you have a factory in the U.S. and you make awesome stuff, you can ship it there. They'll buy it all up.
Yeah. China is getting huge. In fact, on this foreign policy topic here, 2 things happening involving China. The first is I don't know if you guys heard about this, but Pakistan announced that it was going to start converting oil with China with the yuan, so to get off the U.S. dollar, right?
Because they lost all their aid from us.
Well, here's the thing: the dollar thing, the yuan news. This actually came beforehand, so this came.
So retribution.
Yeah, exactly, and so what it is.
Well, they chose China. I don't blame them though. They share a border.
Yeah, and so the stuff from Trump only. It was like a week ago. Trump was actually talking good about Pakistan. I guess he was probably talking that way because he was trying to convince them at the time not.
They tried to woo him, and they tried to do a coup, but the internet got cut for like 4 days, but it wasn't successful.
And so Pakistan is choosing now to work with China, and so then now yesterday, the U.S. announces that it's going to start cutting aid to Pakistan. So basically, I don't know if you guys are starting to understand how big this type of stuff is, but it's when a country falls out of your sphere of influence, right?
Yeah, but now they're going to use Pakistan as a proxy against us and try to make them fight India again.
Well, dude, think about this. Pakistan is a nuclear state, so...
Well, that's what's scary.
Yeah, and so China just flipped Pakistan from the U.S. to Chinese sphere of influence real easily. And the U.S. all the U.S. had was a little, a little speech from Trump saying how cool they were or whatever. China was offering something much greater, which is, like you said, they're on their border and they're going to be a major part of this one belt, one road economic.
Yeah, they're building the Silk Road through them right next.
Yeah, dude. And so Pakistan has been flipped to China. This is big. Pakistan is a nuclear state. Pakistan is about it's got like, I want to say almost 200 million population. It's a big country, really big country, very populous. And of course, it's got that historical beef with India, which is gone. I think that was created by the British Empire, right? When they split that region and created that.
India used to be Pakistan and Bangladesh, so imagine how huge that was at one point. But the British Empire, when they lost control, it split into those three countries, and Pakistan's got a huge wealth of minerals, but they have very little in the way of infrastructure, although they do have good engineers and good computer programmers and a decent education system. So I think a partnership with China is beneficial to them, and India will always stay in the sphere of the UK. So it's not that India is a friend of us, it's just that we're, I guess it's the friend of a friend there in that way.
This is China encircling India.
Yeah, but I mean, that's going to make them paranoid. These stupid games these idiots play, dude.
Yeah. But like you said, man, China's like busting at the seams right now, and they're looking outward, and so they're looking to expand their influence. And I feel like China is actually, because every empire that comes along many of them make the same mistakes, but many of them also make improvements because you learn from the history. You try to make improvements to it. And the U.S. is the U.S. has a huge ass empire right now, but we've made
China. But China's not really like an empire. China's its own culture. It's always owned that side of the world, and Japan, was the only. If Japan wasn't so powerful in its own right, China would have probably expanded eastward across the sea, and they actually a Chinese explorer, and I cannot remember his name, but he reached California in 1418, which is why I floated a meme before that said "Make California China again," because in all honesty, this guy reached the port of San Francisco at that time, and that's why, if you know anything about San Francisco, it was originally a Chinese port, and that's why Chinatown is so huge. So, in any rate, China has shown incredible restraint and had some of the most horrific, insane civil wars you could ever imagine, including one called the Earth War that happened at the same time as our Civil War, which is why no one knows about it. And you know how our Civil War, there was, I don't know how many died in the Civil War. I've heard
over a
different.
million.
Yeah, I know, but I've heard as high as a couple million. So, at any rate, in China's Civil War, 175 million died, which is way more than even World War II and World War I combined. And it was called the Earth War. And the reason why it was called the Earth War was all the armies, all the like mercenaries in the whole world that weren't American went to fight. So America had its own civil war, and every other mercenary company, all the Prussians, the Spanish galleons, the British armies, everybody fought, and they all fought against one portion of China, which was the Protestant Christians. So they were having a Christian uprising, and they had to crush it like a rebellion. And it took that many deaths to stop it. And it never stopped, dude. They never stopped fighting it. Even the people that kept losing are now in Taiwan, which is what they called National China now. So, which is, by the way, Christian. So it's just crazy, dude. China can be trusted enough, more than we could, to run the global economy through it, and not spread their tentacles everywhere to try to crush everybody. So, you know, if we're going to run it through a country and a base, it looks like it's going to be Singapore.
What I'm seeing is like what China is doing to me, it seems like, and this brings it back to some more history stuff, is what they're doing is, the U.S. is an empire, but if you ask the average person on the street, hey, is America an empire? I think most people would be like, well, they'd probably say no. Like, a lot of people wouldn't even really know. Because it's such an improvement. I mean, the U.S., I think they really took they took the imperial model from England and they improved on it greatly by deploying kind of, I guess you would say, like privatization instead of state.
Aircraft carrier diplomacy.
Yeah. And so the U.S. has been able to pull off this empire while at the same time attempting to maintain an image of like, oh, we're actually doing good stuff. We're helping the world out. We're not like subjugating people. So think about it like this: if China is going to be the next big empire, they're going to make improvements. In fact, I think they'll make very large improvements over in the empire building end of things. I think what they're trying to do is recreate the Mongolian Empire, but economically only, not with like invading, all these countries, but just having like this new Silk Road act as a new, a Mongolian Empire 2.0 economic, empire, and where they're not going to invade people, they're not going to, they're not going to send their armies and occupy countries and stuff. They're just going to have very strong economic influence and bring all these people, flip them into their sphere of influence like they just did with Pakistan. China just flipped Pakistan over, and that's just the first big one of the next that are going to fall. Iran and Russia are already in that sphere of influence. A lot of countries are shifting that direction. So, I think it's going to be a different type of empire. It's going to, the U.S. empire may fall. I saw Ron Paul talking about it the other day.
We're just going to contract. That's what's going on right now. So
we lose our assets around the world, and we just everything comes back home. The home front maybe has its own little.
Yeah, we're gonna have a scuffle.
Yeah, and
it's already obvious.
And then China's just gonna fill the void, but it's not going to send armies. It's going to send emissaries. It's going to send businesses, investors.
Learn Mandarin if you want to become rich, or at least have your children learn it so they can become rich.
Thank you all for tuning in. That's back.
I'm on my clock like I told you. I'm doing this for dreams we pursuing, but call it a reality cause there's no illusion. This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo. This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo.